you're listening to Speaking Queerly, a podcast produced by Kaleidoscope Youth Center, an LGBTQIA+ youth center located in Columbus, Ohio.
And there's probably a couple of you who listened to our original few podcasts. We took a little hiatus. There was a global pandemic, but we're back and we're going to have some great content for you.
So we're going to be exploring topics related to our community, as well as current events, legislation, and anything else that you might be interested in hearing about.
But before we get into that, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Lane. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Community Education and Research Manager at KYC.
My name is Isaiah. I use he and they pronouns, and I am the Communication and Development Manager here at KYC.
I'm Mallory. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Civic Engagement and Advocacy Manager for KYC.
And I'm Daria. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Ohio GSA Network Manager.
So now that we've had a chance to introduce ourselves, it makes sense that we should introduce our organization, Kaleidoscope Youth Center. So for those that have never heard of us, we are probably best known for our drop-in center, which supports youth 12 through 20, Tuesdays through Fridays. And we have activities that include gender scope, different affinity groups. Let me take a step back. Okay. So welcome back. Now that we've had a chance to introduce ourselves, it makes sense that we introduce our organization, Kaleidoscope Youth Center. So we're probably best known for our drop-in center, which supports youth 12 through 20 on Tuesdays through Fridays. And we have activities that include our affinity groups like Gender Scope for our trans and non-binary youth. And in addition, we have like our D&D groups, our game nights, our art clubs, and honestly, quite a lot more.
But we also offer community-based wellness. So that's our newest department, which started in 2019. They offer wraparound case management services, which looks like a lot of referrals at the moment. We offer emergency rehousing and supportive co-housing, which is kind of like dorm-style living. But while they're at Kaleidoscope, youth can also pick up toiletries, food, clothing, gas money, bus passes, anything that they need to make their existence a little bit easier and a little bit safer.
Awesome. We also offer professional trainings and development. We do that in person through visits, or we can do it online through Teachable as well. We also go out to schools. The GSA department, our GSAs can come register through Kaleidoscope, and then they can get some information, some resources that can help support the GSAs in their schools.
And one of the other resources we offer is advocacy. So as we know, while we have safe spaces here like Kaleidoscope Youth Center, not every place in Ohio especially is safe for LGBTQIA+ youth and young adults. So whether we're going out to the State House or State Board of Education meetings, or just kind of like, sitting and talking with youth and getting their thoughts on issues and legislation that's happening, and doing our best to fight back against hateful and harmful legislation and advocate for policies that would make, as Lane was saying, life a little bit easier and safer for LGBTQIA+ youth. So now that we've got that all taken care of, one of the things that we do, as Isaiah was talking about in our drop-in center, every evening when youth arrive, we check in and we just kind of see how everyone's doing. We do a highlight, low light, introduce ourselves with name and pronouns, and we also do an optional add-on question every day. And if you've ever been there at a night of programming, you know that these questions can range from like, what's your favorite color, to I think one of the more interesting ones was like, what's your favorite texture? Just, stuff to make you think. And whoever suggests the optional add-on question, you see a little bit of their personality too, but you also learn a lot about the youth and about staff too. So during each episode of the podcast, we're also going to do an optional add-on question. And today's, I figured, since we're just starting this podcast off with the four of us, I want to know, if you weren't hosting this podcast and you had a podcast about something else that you could talk extensively about, what would that podcast be? What's a topic you could talk about for long enough to host a podcast? Daria, you go ahead.
Easily my cat. Specifically, my cat's name is Aristotle, and he's a Pisces. And I think I could do an entire podcast on how he is like so intensely a Pisces in the way that he acts. So probably that.
Lane, how about you?
Mine would be the Arlington Hotel in downtown Hot Springs, Arkansas. It has a really, really horrible history and so many ghosts. And I would love to just dig into the really haunted history of that.
As somebody who has been to this hotel briefly recently, I can attest, I would love to listen to that because it is very strange. If you've never been, I don't know, maybe reconsider going.
You pay me to spend a night in that hotel. Trip all of us.
Oh, that would be a fun
Yeah.
talk.
That's so fascinating. How do I follow that up? So I think probably Beyonce's discography. At this point, we get both Beyonce and Destiny's Child, so there's like a lot that can be discussed and we can go through.
Actually, like, make it, please.
Oh, yes. Put it on the board. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we could stay tuned for that.
How about you, Mallory?
Yeah, if I could talk about one thing extensively, I think it would just have to be swimming. I have been a swimmer for my whole life. And as we were just discussing before we started this podcast, I wake up every morning and swim at 5:45 a.m. And I also coach a youth swim team here in Columbus too. So I think if anyone wants to know about swimming, I could probably talk about that for many podcast episodes.
Can I just ask, how early do you get up to be swimming at 5:45?
I do wake up at 5 a.m. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
But that's like what time my alarm goes off. I would say I'm not actually awake until I'm getting out of the water at the end of practice.
So does your alarm factor in time for like getting out of bed slowly and like self-loathing?
No, I give myself 2 minutes and then the self-loathing is all there until I'm again getting out of the water. Just kidding. I like swimming.
I think you're amazing, Matt. That's a mean joke.
No harm taken. I understand it's a little bit wild that I do that. Well, now we've had a chance to introduce ourselves. We've talked a little bit about what you can expect from this podcast. We're going to have a variety of topics, but as we wrap up, I just want to say, if you are a young person, if you're not a young person and you're listening to this podcast, and if you ever have any questions that you'd like us to address or topics you'd like us to cover, send us an email. You can send an email to Mallory, MALLORY, at kycohio.org, and we'll do our best to get that answered for you on this podcast. But be sure to subscribe.
Leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and share this episode with a friend so that they can be part of the conversation too.
We're looking forward to getting to know you all throughout this, and stay tuned for future episodes.
Toodaloo.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
See you.